Hello, my name's Emma. Welcome to your Weave Crafternoon Pack. Now, there are lots of different fun, exciting things in here, but the most important thing that I can say is it's completely up to you what you do with these materials. They're for exploring and experimenting, and they're for you to find out what you like. How do you like to make them work? Do you like to plan? Do you want to have an idea and try to make that work? Do you like to just let your fingers play, see what happens, experiment along the way? Maybe you start one way and you change your mind and do it the other. That's really important. Changing your mind is absolutely fine. This is for you. You decide. Okay, so weaving over and under, and then under and over, under and over. It's basically in and out, in and out. So I'm going to show you. You might have one of these. You might not. You might have a different way to use your stuff. This, I'm going to call it a loom. When you're weaving, the thing that you weave on is often called a loom. I don't know what this was really. It's a piece of plastic with holes in, but it's a brilliant colour. It's very sturdy and it works really well. So I'm going to go in to start with, and I'm going to pull all the way pretty much to the end, leaving a tail. Plop. Try again. So that one came in, and then I'm going out. So it's sort of like doing a stitch, and then I'm going back in and coming out. Can you see how that's making a pattern? Okay, in and out, and in and out. So now, the next time, I'm going to start with an out, and then I'm going to go in. So it's basically using the opposite the second time to what you did the first time. So can you see how the pattern's changing? It's still the same stitch. It's still every other hole I'm using, but this time they're on the different sections. Can you see? So I would finish like that. So this is one way of doing this. You could use lots of different pieces going in and out each one. You could turn it this way and go this way and this way. This is a very regular way to weave. But remember what I said, it's totally up to you. So I had a fiddle and I put some stuff together just like this. Could be this way, could be that way. I mean, it's quite interesting on this side when you can see. So it really is up to you. And the best thing about this is you can just take it out. If you change your mind, move that, don't like it, add something else. Which reminds me, if you wanted to, I just found some leaves in the garden. You could maybe add some extra things on top. Have you got any leaves? Could you start to put things like that inside? How would it work? Can you add them underneath something on top? Fill it up. Experiment and see what you like. So a few little tricks that I can show you just quickly to give you the idea of how this might work for you. If you wanted to thread, you've got a few beads and a few brilliant little pieces of pasta that I've painted. Sometimes if you cut your thread straight across, you get quite a flat, blunt end. But if you use your scissors carefully and cut at an angle, can you see how it starts to be very pointed, that thread? And a pointed thread is much easier to thread through a bead or even a piece of pasta. Practice. These things sometimes feel quite fiddly, but if you have a go, you'll be able to do it. I'll show you a knot in case you don't know. Taking two ends, crossing one over the other. So this one is behind and this one is in front. Now the behind one will come over the top of the front and then through that loop and all the way back up to make ears so you can tie it. You might want to tie things onto the bottom. You might want to tie something to make it hang up. You might want to experiment with tying different knots just for decoration. It's totally up to you. you might want to try to plait. Now, I don't know if you've done plaiting before. If you haven't, I'll show you how to do it. So it's 3 pieces you need. 3 pieces of anything. They could be fabric, they could be thread. These are pieces of leather because it's quite easy to see. And I'm going to show you very quickly how it works. Each time you're swapping the opposite side for the middle. So I start on this side and I'll swap it for the middle. I'll bring the middle out. So this time you're going to put this one and swap it for the middle. Oh, I'm sliding. This side swaps for the middle, and this side swaps for the middle. Now you could do this by attaching your 3 pieces in a drawer, maybe, or putting something heavy on them, or sometimes you can make a knot and use a safety pin and pin them to your trouser leg. Don't make a hole in something, you're not supposed to. But all of these things are good ways to try to practice your plaiting. And here we go. Every time I moved the side and swapped it for the middle, and then went to this side, swapped it for the new middle. So this might be something good that you might want to use on one of your looms. You could thread it, or you might want to make some dangly ends that you knot on. Hello. And perhaps use some plaits at the bottom. Just an idea. Now, I wanted to say that there are a few other ways to make a loom. You might have a piece of cardboard and a few elastic bands. If you do, you could put the elastic bands around the cardboard, and that's still a way to go in and out. And in and out, you can still have a loom. I'll show you very quickly. The good thing about the elastic bands is that they lift up and down. You can move them. Can you see what I'm doing and see how that's working? So you can swivel them along if you like. You can add all different, what have I got? Got that one I tied a knot in. So if I started under that one, I'm going to start over that one this time, using the piece of leather. Just makes a brilliant sound as well. And there you go. If you kind of push it up each time, you'll start to see that you're beginning to make a pattern. You could use paper, wrapping paper. You could use even some of your old cut up drawings that you didn't mind. It's a great way to reuse some of the things you might have used before. And of course, on the other side of the box, you've got quite a big hole. So look, I've put some of the fabric that came in the pack, and I've started to use that. You can push it down. And I also thought, what did I find? Oh, I found a flower in the garden. Now look, maybe I could attach that. Maybe I could start to have something that was really natural in there. The elastic bands hold things really tightly. Can you see how it really starts to become full? Something more. There are a lot of little bits that you can add in. The pasta can stay behind. You can tie things on. It's all a good way to experiment. I've got a couple more things to show you. Your stuff came in a bag. You could make a loom out of this. If you had lots of pieces of paper cut into strips, some thin, some thick, you could use your bag or even just a piece of it. Let me see, if I cut it, just got that bit left. That's the solid bit at the bottom. Now, if I cut lines, not all the way to the top, but some of the way, it's probably good to have a roll of tape ready for this, because can you see how I've got a kind of a fringe? Oh look, I've got some old shiny stuff, and I can do the same. I can go over and under and over and under and over. And it starts to make a pattern, especially if the next time, remember, I go under and over and under and over. And can you see how if you had some tape, you could tape this down at the back Oh look, that one started to flap. There we go. From the bottom, you could tape this. And you really start to make a simple and interesting woven piece of work. So weaving happens in all sorts of different places, and it's very simple to explore and practice and play with. One last thing. I promised that I would show you how to make a pom-pom on a fork. That's all I'm going to show now. So if you don't want to know, you can stop the video. But if you do, get yourself a fork and some of that thread. I gave you a couple of embroidery threads in your pack. That might work for you. You might have wool at home. You might, I don't know, cut something up. Please ask before you do. I'm going to show you very quickly. So if you have your fork and just hold your thread on, and we're going to wrap around. Just wrapping. We're going to wrap about 50 times. Pretty boring. Okay, so we've wrapped quite a few, 50-ish. Now, what you're going to need to do is put a thread through the middle of your fork there. Can you see it's come out like that? And we're just going to tie around there. Pull it as tight as you can and tie it in one of those knots I've shown you. Okay, so you've tied it round. I had to tie it twice. I went back through to tie it as tight as you can. If you need someone to help you, ask them to put their finger on top of the first knot, and then you tie the second knot whilst they're pushing down. Helps to keep it tight. It's quite important. So then you're going to slide it off your fork. Keep those tails from where you've knotted it on. Slide it off, and then if you hold by those tails, if that works for you, there. Now, so you've got those two little bits. I'm so sorry about pointing my scissors. You've got those two little bits that you're going to cut. So take your scissors carefully, and you're going to cut through the loops. Have you made pom-poms before? Do you remember that you have to cut these sections? Okay, so making sure that each section is cut, then turn it over. Don't cut your tie, because you'll probably need that to hang it up. So you might want to hang it onto your piece of work. I want to hang it anywhere. Okay, I think I've got them all. So you can see what happens is, it looks like a little bale of hay, but as you start to fluff it up, you can see it becoming a pom-pom. Now, the only thing it needs is a bit of a trim. So this is up to you now. This is where you can take your scissors and decide how much of a trim you want to give it. I would say do quite a lot, because the trick with a good pom-pom is one that's really been trimmed quite a lot, because that's what gives it that lovely round shape. Now, you don't have to watch me trimming this pom-pom to know that once it's all trimmed, it's going to be lovely to hang off the bottom of something, a woven piece. What if you did 3 or 4? Keep practicing. Thank you so much. I really hope that you enjoy playing with this packet of materials, and I hope that you find some exciting, new, different ways to put things together, things that I haven't even thought of. And when you do, why don't you tell me? I'd really appreciate it. Send me a picture, or write me an email, or tag me on social media if that's what good for you. I'm going to just say bye-bye.